Call it the vibe election. All the vibes were all good. But elections, I think, are won on vibes because one of the old saws is they just want somebody they can have a beer with. So would you like to have a beer with me so I can tell people what that's like?
Just in tonight, with exactly 4 weeks to go before one of the craziest elections in many of our lifetimes, Vice President Harris is out doing a media blitz tonight with The Late Show with Stephen Colbert, cracking open a cold one.
This is as much of this as I can show you. Thank you, YouTube safety and guidance and spiritual leadership that we're getting there. But last night, Kamala Harris went on to the Colbert Show. And she's trying to come across as normal. She's trying to come across as relatable and in touch with the American people. That's what Kamala Harris is trying to do. So she goes on this elitist show. She went on to Howard Stern, the guy that did blackface 100 times and said the N-word 1,000 times. She went on to The View and said she agreed with everything Joe Biden did. She went on to this smut-driven podcast called Call Her Daddy and just tried to push female reproductive rights. We'll leave it at that, okay? But now she's trying to normalize herself with this audience, this late nights audience. And she's going on there and she's going to crack open some suds, the champagne, right? Miller High Life with Stephen Colbert, okay? This is where we're at. Florida is being evacuated. North Carolina, people are missing. Wyoming, the Grand Tetons are now engulfed in flames. There is a hurricane about to hit Florida. People are without power. There's going to be loss of life. There are going to be I'm waiting on locust. Okay, that's what I'm waiting on right now. There are many people that are just in utter disarray and can barely survive. And Kamala Harris goes on the Colbert Show and tries to normalize her relatability. Every chance she gets, she puts her foot in her mouth and makes a bad decision. Somebody is telling her these are the right things to do. I don't know who her campaign manager is. I love you. I love her campaign manager. It's cringeworthy. It is absolute cringe. But what's more important is how CNN tries to spin this. How CNN tries to move the narrative and give off the vibe that she's normal and that you're not normal for questioning anything she does because she's a woman of color. Well, I'm white adjacent on this show. We all know that, right? Okay? So I'm allowed to criticize this. Okay? I'm allowed.
My political sources are here tonight, so I don't have any beer for you guys. But Karen, I mean, we've been watching Harris doing this. You know, she was criticized for not doing a lot of media, certainly not traditional media. But she's out, she's doing these interviews. She did Howard Stern earlier. She did The View. We'll talk about that appearance in a moment, Alyssa. Yeah. But to see her in that moment tonight, you know, what do you think that if you're her advisor, what's that strategy look like behind the scenes?
It's about the fact that we live in a very fractured media environment where people are choosing where and how they get their information. And unfortunately, it's not always from CNN, although I wish it.
Thank goodness it's not always from CNN. Thank goodness. And this lady here, Karen Finney, political commentator, she says it right there. Unfortunately, people are getting their news in other outlets, and it's a fractured environment. In a previous video, you can check it out, CNN just outwardly comes out and attacks Donald Trump and basically associates him with Schmittler, calling for his eradication. Okay. That is what CNN is putting out. And this lady here doesn't want you to get your news anywhere else but there. This is bothering them. The mainstream news media is on, I would say, it's past life support because nobody trusts them. They're arrogant. They're entitled. They're out of touch. And they think all of you are dumb for not worshiping at their altar. Okay, and whatever altar that is, you figure it out. In today's video, we're going to debunk this. Okay, we are going to show you the irony and the hypocrisy of the left-wing media and the Kool-Aid that they're giving to everyone and just being told, believe it, we're the only viable news source. Thanks for tuning in. I don't have a journalism license. I'm just a salty veteran.
It was. It's, they're watching, they're on TikTok, they're watching late night, they're listening to podcasts that they love, they're religiously, right? They're in all kinds of, they're watching The View. So you really got to be everywhere. And I will say, as a communications professional, my job has changed dramatically over the last 10, 20 years, because you really have to say to candidates, no, really, you do have to go on this podcast. Yes, really, we're going to tape this reel for Instagram. And yes, I promise you it's going to matter, because that's where voters are, and you have to be where the voters are.
Yeah, well, I mean, Brian, just as the chief media analyst, what's your view of the strategy and what it does look like in 2024?
It's an all of the above strategy, right? A little bit of this, a little bit of that. I just wish, Alyssa, you would have brought beer this morning on The View. Is it too early to drink on The View? I guess it's too early.
Okay. Brian Stelter. She just said everything you need to hear. He's the chief media strategist for CNN. He's back. He is back. Mark Dice is so happy right now that Brian Stelter is back, because the dunking will start again. This is the guy that's pulling the strings at CNN. It's a self-licking ice cream cone. It's disgusting with how dumb they believe you are. They believe you're an idiot. And if you watch The View, if you watch CNN, if you watch Stephen Colbert, if you watch Howard Stern, and you're formulating an opinion on who to vote for from those shows, you deserve every damn bad thing that's going to happen. You deserve it. You absolutely deserve it, because you're an idiot if this is how you form your political opinion. I'm not saying I'm the smartest guy in the room, but I'm going to tell you right now, looking at my screen, I'm the smartest person on my screen. None of these four clowns have ever had a real job. They've never had a blister. They've never had to get up early. They've never had to go punch a time clock. I know they've never been deployed. They've never lived on a submarine. They've never served their country. This is a self-licking ice cream cone. It's covered in poop and drool. And you will like it, or else. Or else they will shut down channels like mine. They'll pull Section 230 because Hillary Clinton told them that. And you're only going to get this. This is undigestible news. It's not even news. It's just commentary. It's political opinion, zero sustenance, zero vitamins, zero nutrients. It's just sprinkles of dookie.
Too early. I guess it depends on your social preferences.
Yeah.
Maybe not for like college shows.
But it's actually interesting. The beer is interesting because Biden doesn't drink, right? Because Trump does not drink, very kind of famously does not drink. So in a weird way, we're back to the George W. Bush test about who do you want to have a beer with?
Yeah, the old adage. And, she was at the table with y'all this morning. What stood out to you during your conversation?
Well, listen, we say, not to brag about The View, but the road to the White House is through The View. Every president since George Bush has come on the show that's gone on to be elected, including Donald Trump. Right. And we've invited Trump officials on. Listen, you're reaching a different audience. We're in more than 3 million households. It's our audience skews heavily toward women. And it's women who don't necessarily follow politics day in and day out, but they want to know the key stories people are talking about. So it's about reaching voters who maybe aren't glued to every detail of this election. Yeah. I thought it was brilliant. She went on Call Her Daddy. That's 5 million downloads a week. I think what they're realizing is they have to flood the zone, and they're going for broke at this point. I think she should have deployed this strategy over a month ago to be reaching more voters. It feels like it's a little bit late, but I expect she's going to keep doing this.
But if you get your information from The View, you are not a wise person. If you get your information from CNN, you're not wise. MSNBC, you're not wise. If you get your news from just one source, I'm going to say it, you're dumb. With the way that there is so much access to real information on a daily basis, to choose one source, you're an idiot. Your windows are very clean, and there's probably a small yellow bus coming to pick you up. You've probably got to put on your hockey helmet and drool tray before you go to work, if you do work. This is disgusting. CNN, shame on you. All these other organizations, shame on you. That's the problem. They have no shame. It's all for clicks. The View is a clown show. And it's going to need a really big car to fit some of those people inside. Whoopee. This is the Vet Biker. I got to get out of here. I got to wash my eyes out with something strong after watching this crap.